Yeah,
Okay, you guys are now live on YouTube.
yeah, okay, and I gotta go because my meeting started.
Okay, being 6:30, I will call the facilities meeting to order.
I'll see you.
And roll call shows all members are present. You were sent a copy of the minutes from the previous meeting. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Okay, Mike made a motion. Is there a second? Tim? Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same?
Aye.
Okay, motion, okay, the minutes are approved. Okay, item 4, items replaced by the chair, there was none. That brings us over to staff and recreation reports, fair and fair board. Okay, Deb.
Hi, everybody. You received the written report. I don't really have a lot to add. There's, I guess that's pretty much out there. We're still continuing the discussion with the meat animal committee. And Nick is helping by looking through some of the requirements under ATCP and how we can set this up and so forth. We also have a couple fair board appointments for tonight, and Justin has resigned from the fair board. Life sometimes gets in the way of serving on a fair board or serving on a board, as you all know. So they bought some new land, and they're going to tap a lot more trees out there this year. So he's going to be kept pretty busy. So I guess that's all I have, unless somebody has questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Deb? Okay. That'll bring us down to facilities and parks divisions, operations.
Right, operations, things have been going very well, running smoothly. Working on work orders, keeping everything running in all parts of the buildings, and the neighbors. Everybody's been keeping busy. Everybody's been working together really well, helping each other out wherever they can. The team is really coming along good. Compliments and everything. You guys got my written report of everything. The only thing I have to add as far as operations is that currently the sheriff's department has used the house behind community services, used it for some room clearing training. They aren't doing any damage or anything like that. They just go in there and do some training as to how to clear rooms in a building. So that's beneficial for those guys. They've done one of them so far, and hope that can help out. I know they had discussed before the interest of using the community services building. That was prior to it being remodeled. So they always looking for a place to do room cleaning training. So they've done that. As far as going on to projects, and go right into that, is human services reception glass and the sheriff's department bulletproof glass is all on schedule. All the prep work has been done. The guys finished up building the new countertops today. The reception glass should have come into Esser Glass today, was when it was to be expected. The bulletproof glass, I believe, is supposed to be expected to be delivered to them tomorrow. So we're pretty much right on schedule as far as getting that all done. I've submitted all of the invoices in to COVID so that whole project will get reimbursed including, I think it was about $7,500 of labor for the guys. Should be able to get recouped under COVID expense. So that'll really be helpful. Yesterday, some of the highway guys got the flagpoles pulled out at the old government center downtown for future use in the Veterans Memorial. So we have those in our possession. We still have to get the chalice and the plaque off of the old one down there, but we'll work with the city about that. And then one other thing I have on to tie in with facilities fleet was we put 3 of the fleet vehicles and then the neighbor's old neighbor's van with the wheelchair lift. Put that up on auction. The auction ended today. We ended up getting $1,360 for the old van. We put up the old sheriff's Ford Expedition, came from the sheriff's department that Dave Taylor was driving it for a while. And then we did have it for IT to use for their department to do their stuff. And a lot of times they weren't even using it. So it was sitting around a lot. We sold that at, got $2,705 out of that one. The 2014 Chevy Impala brought $5,600, and the 2012 Dodge Caravan brought $4,000. Along with that auction, along with the vehicles, we had some other miscellaneous items that were sitting around that we sold, made some extra money back. So that made a few $100s back anyways, and get the stuff gone that is never going to be used. That is all I have to report.
Okay, any questions for Scott? I guess I just have the one here where you say that you installed a camera and stuff in the front vestibule.
Yep.
That's working fine and dandy.
Yep, that is working good. All the departments that got access to it can bring it up on their computer. And then with the phone in the front, and if anybody from the public comes, and they don't have a phone, or if they choose to use that one, they can call the department that they want. The person in that department can bring it up on their computer, see who it is. And then if they have business in the building, then they go let them in. They come into the building, and then that person that brings them into the building is supposed to disinfect that front area, wipe down the phone and wipe down the door handles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's working out good.
Good, because that was my follow-up question as far as who keeps it all disinfected, and you've already answered that. So
I was reading your mind.
You were. Not much to read up there, I'm telling you. Okay, does anybody have any other questions for Scott? Okay, if not, then we'll, who's going to do the fleet?
John's got the rest of it here.
Yep.
Okay.
Can everybody hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As Scott just summarized here, the vehicles that we sold for auction today, they're gone. A couple of those needed a bunch of repair work. We decided here to change gears a little bit. So we're only going to upgrade the 5 Malibus, the 2021 models. We'll actually cash in some of our equity, and then we will lower our payment actually slightly. And then the 2 crossover vehicles that we were looking for Health and Human Services, that actually fell through, so we're not going to be purchasing those. And then we decided not to replace the number 6, the Malibu that we had thought about adding. If everything turns around and everything goes back to normal, we can always add another sedan if needed. So pretty much it's just replace the recommendation of Enterprise is the 5 current Malibus to new models. And then Scott, that truck drive, she recommended that we can get quite a bit of money out of that one. So we're going to upgrade to a new model there also. As far as the facilities financial report. We're kind of running right on par for where we're at in the year. The one that looks a little bit funky is the parks operation. To the total expenditures is still a little out of whack because John McLaughlin has not converted that big tractor back to facilities operations. So otherwise, everything else is running fairly in check for this time of year. So that brings us down to the energy. I actually had a phone conversation with Dave Plume from Eagle Point. Because of COVID, they have not been traveling. He asked if we could get some pictures of the meters, transfer gear, switch gear, nameplates on all the gear, and then the 3 backup generators at the neighbors. And if we email him those pictures, he'll get working on the proposal. And hopefully in the next month or so, either he can do it virtual or in person, depending on where we're at with COVID. So any questions on any of those groups?
Okay, I don't see any questions out there.
Yeah, John, I have a
Yes.
question. Oh, on the vehicles, did you consider getting a couple hybrids this year?
We looked into it. She's going to get us some final numbers, but right now they're quite a bit higher on the monthly charge versus the Malibus. They're still kind of the best bang for our buck because of the total overall price is very low, and the mileage on them is, you know, high 30s to mid 40s. So right now it's the initial cost that's kind of holding us back on that.
Okay, any other questions? If not, nothing under miscellaneous, John?
No, the only other thing is we did have a final meeting with Xcel Energy and MJ Electric, and we have a contract signed. So we are on the construction schedule to get the 3-phase power and the metering in for the bus chargers over at Transit. So we're hopefully going to get it in here before freeze up. Paperwork's all finalized, so we're just on the schedule now for construction.
Okay, very good. Item C, corporate council staff, nothing there. We'll go down to item number 6, considerations for actions to be taken by the committee. Item A, fair board appointments. So, Deb, do you want
These came back from a search.
to take that one, Deb? I know you have it in your report here, but I'll go ahead and take over.
Okay. Martha Peabody has been serving on the Fair Board, and her appointment was up for reappointment, and she would like to be reappointed. And then Cheyenne had resigned in May due to COVID and her changes in her job. Her term was up in 2020. We didn't replace that position at the time. It was up because we knew it was up in the fall, and with the fair running differently, we knew we didn't have anything for sponsor or for advertising and promotions and stuff that we would be doing. So we felt we could wait and appoint that in the fall. We would like to appoint Jim Powers. And if you remember, Jim has been a long time community member. He has been serving as a superintendent in the dairy division, and he judges or is the coach for the judging team that's been very successful and gone on to national or international competition. And of course, this year their international competition got put on hold because of COVID. So he's been very active, and we'd like to have him appointed. And if anybody has any questions.
Okay, any questions for Deb? I guess the one question I have is with Justin resigning, when does his term end, you know, off the top of your head? Because I mean,
Gosh, I looked that up too. He ends, I believe, next year, but we have somebody else that's interested in his position. And, but we'll bring that up in January. They had to move some things around and do some planning. And so he is very interested and, but wait until the January meeting, meeting in December. I can't remember. And will there be a November facilities committee meeting? Because I have to figure out the timing of when we bring that name forward.
Yeah, I'm planning on having one, yes. In November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll either be brought forward to replace Justin's position, and I'll look that up again. I did look that up. And I can probably go out on the website and find it real quick.
Well,
if you need
that's
to know,
fine.
but-
That's fine. It sounds like obviously you have it under
All right.
control, so great, great. Okay, do I hear a motion to reappoint Martha Peabody and to appoint Jim Powers to the Fair Board?
I'll move, Don.
Okay, Don made a motion. Who seconded it? Mike seconded. Okay, good enough. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay, these two people will be moved forward then, okay?
If I may,
Yes,
Deb, would you email me that information and any information you have on Jim Powers as far as address and phone number and email so that the clerk can get a hold of them?
Absolutely. In fact, I kind of have the email drafted, Dave, just depending on what the
Okay.
meeting is. So you'll get it short. You should get it tomorrow. So,
That'd be
get back to you.
great. Thank you.
all right. Yep, you bet.
okay, item 6B, the relocation of facilities office, facility shop, and record storage. So you, in your packet, you got a letter, and I'll let Scott take it over from there if he wants to add anything to it.
Yes, I can do that for sure. So, yeah, I kind of wrote up a report of, give you guys an idea of what my thoughts are after our last meeting, looking for a solution to incorporate the house into the county campus and plan and retain it and give it a good use. I previously had this idea and was just looking to, see where the house was going to go to. And since it didn't sell on auction, I thought, well, I'll bring this back, and it makes sense to me. So I'll give you a background of what I'm looking at is that Human Resources has had me check out for a room that they need to put Human Resources records in to make them secure. Only certain personnel should have access to them. In the past, these records were not secure. There are some of the records that are in the current record storage building. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the record storage building. When you go into it, there's one key to go into it, and there's a center hallway, and then there's rooms on each side that are behind locked doors. Well, the key for that record storage building opens all of those areas. So once you're in the building, you have access to all of the records. So some of the records we should not have access to. I was working closely with Heather Murray and Human Resources about the records, about getting them secured. So trying to get things in the right place. And she indicated to me too also that there's a lot of us that don't have a clearance or a security clearance, basically, for a background to look at the child support records. So anybody that goes into the record storage building could have access to those. So HR wants to work through all of the records and figure out which need their own secure area. So just the room for HR records that we originally had planned for building up in the administration wing would be $10,000. So that was put into the 2021 budget as a capital improvement. So this would knock that out of there. It wouldn't be spending the $10,000 there. Also, in the capital improvements budget for 2022, I had put in 400,000, to request for a facilities maintenance shop, because we do not have a maintenance shop for all of this new equipment that we have purchased to keep them in more of a climate controlled area or nicer area, to keep them nice, take care of them, wash them, do our mechanic work on there. In the past, since the old annex building and shop was sold from facilities, then we've been using a one stall garage area in the back of the white brick building at the rec park, which was heated by an electric heater. And in the wintertime, on a cold day, you were lucky if it got to be 40 degrees in there. And it was great that it's out of the wind and you had some heat, but it's not the best conditions for you to be working on this nice equipment. So going forward with that, if my plan was to swap spaces with the record storage building, facilities would take over the record storage building and make that into a shop. The records would be moved into our storage and shop area in the basement of community services building. Then all the records would be under fire suppression. They would have easy access by all staff in the building and easier access for other buildings to come and go in there if they need to. There would be no concern of load rating in the building. There was a plan at one time brought up of bringing record storage in and putting it in one of the areas, but then there was a concern of the load rating of the floor. So we're on the basement level, wouldn't have to worry about that. There could be, there's at least 3 offices that could be used for separate locked up record storage. One of the offices is 216 square feet. Another one is 140, and the third is 100 square feet. Those are already separate rooms. So you could put records in there, change the lock on the door, change the core, and they'd be set to go. Currently, the record storage building is 46 feet by 110 feet. The records that are in there currently take up 2,595 square feet, whereas if they were brought into the facilities area that we currently have, there would be well more than that. Just the shop and storage area would be 3,342 square feet. So there'd be more area for record storage if necessary. So it'd be a good trade-off there. The benefits of the move that I thought of, put down, would be providing a use for the house, provide our shop space that facilities is looking for projects and equipment. It would increase the square footage for record storage if that's all needed, putting the records under fire protection and easier accessibility for staff, better security for the records. And then when we get into expenses, to do this and get the house back up and running, the one expense that will be there initially would be hooking the gas back up. For a new gas service, XL is looking at $823. And then after that, it would be the expenses, the gas expense, the electricity, and the water, which on a 5-year average, that house for electricity has been $1,143. Gas has been $661, and $30 a month for water and sewer. So the record storage building on a 5-year average has been $703 a year for electricity, $986 for gas. I foresee that being very similar with facilities in there. initially it may be a little more electricity cost because of, you know, lights being on more, because right now the lights are hardly on. But we would go through it. Right now it has the old T12 fluorescent light bulbs in, which are energy suckers. So we would convert to LED down the road so that we could save money on that. The heat would be kept about the same, so that I don't foresee that going up. So I think all in all, I think it's a good plan, but my idea, but I want to bring it up to you guys, answer any questions on it, and see what happens with it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Yeah, go
I
ahead,
do,
Tim.
Chairman. Scott, the question I have that kind of popped into my head when you were talking about all this is there anything about storage of records off-site? Do they need to be off-site or can they be on-site?
I have not run across anything that says they have to be off-site.
Okay.
Mike, do you have a question?
So the current storage is where and what are you moving into that house?
So what we would do, we have our facilities office space that is currently in the basement of community services building. We would take my office, office of my staff, Greg, Brady, and Bob, and we would move our office space into that house. And then we would take our area that is storage and our shop space, and we would move that to the record storage building. And then the records in the record storage building would come back into our area in community services.
Which is the building that you are heating with the electric heater that you can't get up to temp?
That was the white brick building or the small animal building at the rec park. Which that building, I have already taken the electric heater out. We're not heating that because it makes no sense. We're spending way too much money to try and heat that. It just does not make sense. So the electric heater has been taken out, and that was one of the things that was sold on the auction.
It's the lower old highway shop building, Mike, next to the detention pond.
Yeah.
At the rec park.
So what will you be utilizing in place of that building?
In place of the building at the rec park?
Yeah.
Well, so at the rec park, what we had in that space, the garage space in the back of that building was where years ago Highway kept their patch in the wintertime to keep it warm. So they threw some insulation, past guys threw insulation up in there and heated it to keep the lawn tractor in there, the one with the sweeper and the snow blower and the plow blade. They would put it in there to keep it somewhat warm so that it was easier starting in the winter. So we wouldn't keep that there. We would move our tractors out to the new shop area, which would be the record storage building. And then they could be kept inside. Also, we would be able to get our plow trucks eventually. We'd be able to get those inside. They wouldn't be sitting out in the snow, wouldn't be out there in the cold for starting up and going out and plowing snow. It would be better, keep our equipment a lot better. You know, we have the capability to clean the equipment off after we're done using it also. And then it could dry off and not be all frozen in a cold building.
I understand now. It just took me a minute to get up to speed. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Don. I'll get you next, Dave.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, now this records building, that's near the community services building, right?
It is behind it, is to the north of the community services building.
So that'd be much more convenient for you to
Yeah.
get your equipment instead of going over the rec park.
Yes.
Okay. The other question is, would it be some inconvenience for you to move to this house instead of staying in the main building as far as other people coming to see you, or?
I kind of thought about that. And I have just as many people that come to see me that come from the other buildings as in the community services building. So I think wherever I'm at, I think people are going to be able to find me.
Okay, Dave, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a number of questions, I guess.
Okay.
The storage building now out back,
Yep.
are the walls high enough to use that for a shop?
Yes.
Okay,
They're
And does-
it's a 12-foot high ceiling in there.
okay. Does that have any garage doors now?
Yes, there's a garage door on each end. They are smaller garage doors. Eventually, we'd probably end up putting larger ones in.
Okay.
There's capability of putting larger ones in there. There were larger ones in the past in there.
Okay. I guess, okay. And then the building, the stall that you quit using over in the old highway shop, you decided to do that already this year.
Yes.
So for this year, what were you going to use for a shop for this winter, if anything?
We do have the old blacksmith shop behind community services. We have that building that we put some money into. We did put heat in it last year. Got it hooked up. That building is usable for a shop. It's just we can't take and put our whole shop from the community services building into there. That is a shop where you can pull one or two vehicles in. That's where we have done oil changes on fleet vehicles that we own. And we've done, some other work on equipment as necessary in there.
All right. That sounds like a good plan to me. I think in the long run, it's going to be get everybody at the same campus. I think it's sounds like a good idea.
Okay, I guess I do have one question about the records on site, off site. Have you talked to Nick or legal on that, or what? Where did you, or do we need to research that more just to make sure that we are in compliance with rules and regulations?
I have not talked to Nick about it. Just in speaking with Heather from HR, I know the HR records. The plan was to bring those into the main building. So in that case, they would not have to be off-site. Human Services does have records in the basement of Community Services right now. It's all of the the other records that are boxed up, older ones that in case somebody needs from years ago that are put in the building out back. I know that building, the current record storage building, I know that has been used since, probably early 90s, maybe even before that is when it was turned into a record storage building. So they've always been stored there. I guess my thoughts were is that they took over that building and made it record storage because that was a usable building. They didn't have space anywhere else for the records. When the 2014 remodel of the old healthcare center building was done, that was one of the things that was looked at, was moving the record storage into the building, but they were looking at putting it on one of the floors. On first floor where Register of Deeds is currently at now. They were looking at it, but they said with the weight of the paper that they would be able to put records in there but they could only go 2 boxes high. And then they would overload, any more than that, they would be over the load rating for the floor. So I could definitely talk to Nick about this, and Heather or whoever about records as far as finding out if there's anything about them being stored off-site. But I don't know of anything at this point.
Right. Tim, have you ever ran across, or the fact that you asked that question, have you experienced a situation that would dictate offsite, or what made you bring up that question?
Well, I guess my background in information technology kind of made me think about that.
Okay.
Because I know that, especially for backups, for computer system backups, for disaster recovery methods, a lot of times things need to be stored off-site.
Sure.
You have a complete backup of your computer system and it's stored off-site somewhere, and then you have potentially, if you had a fire that took down the building or that housed all the computer equipment, you could then take your backup tapes from your off-site location over to a different location and restore your computer systems and get those back up and running. So that's kind of what prompted my thinking of what if sometimes records may need to be stored off-site, because if they're all in one location, if something happens to that location, you've lost all your records too.
Okay. 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 Well, I think we do need to pursue that just to make sure we're on good solid ground there. But overall, I think it's a great idea also. Other than
the other thing, Chuck, I was gonna say too, the other thing is that for this to happen with the gas to be hooked up, we're running late in the year. If it happened to be where we didn't get a bad enough frost right away, Excel would be able to do it, but if there ends up being frost, they have a $2,000 frost charge on this. So I'm more apt to say, hey, let's do the gas in the spring. And then it would be that $823. There's no sense in paying a frost charge to make this happen. In that case, if we wanted to go ahead with this, there's ways we could work around it so that things could happen first before it all happened. It would be in stages of moving, but it could take place, but it wouldn't totally be a move until spring.
Okay.
So in that case, we do have time to talk to Nick and find out about this.
Okay. What do your other committee members think about the overall scope of this? Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I'd like to commend you on thinking outside the box to use that house. I think we should explore it more, but I really appreciate the ideas you come up with.
Thank you.
Okay, Don, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering one step farther. I'm sure you thought of this, but from convenience and space wise, would it be possible for you to have your office in the same building as the garage? Or wouldn't that work out at all? Then you wouldn't have to heat that house.
It would be possible. The only drawback to the record storage building, as far as having office space in it, then you would start getting into having to build walls in there to build the offices and doors and that. We would have to run internet service to it. There is none right at the moment. And there is no water and sewer at that building. So you'd start running into a situation of that.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I'm assuming you don't want to use up the square footage for offices in that building, is that correct?
No, I really wouldn't, I guess. That's my thoughts, is have have the office space in the house to utilize that. And then all of the building would be shop and equipment storage.
Okay, yeah, Dave.
Just a comment, the house is real convenient to the CSB building. There's a door on the same side as the house, so it's less than a block away, where the other building is quite a ways away. I think we may get into some, if they do have to leave the office and come to the CSB building, there would be some wasted time there where being in the house, they can just walk out the door and walk over to it. It's very short distance. So I think convenient wise, the house makes a lot of sense for an office space, and it's set up for offices already. So there wouldn't be a lot of expense there.
Okay,
I guess I have one other question when it comes to county buildings out back. What is the old, the building where the heat system was originally? What's in there? Anything?
The old boiler room. So the building with the smokestack by it, there's actually two portions to that building. As you look at it, you can see two different roof lines. The one on the right side is the old boiler room. And so that when you go into it, you walk down to the basement, and the boilers were set on a basement level. The only thing that's in there is the decommissioned boilers, and nothing has been done with the boilers because of asbestos. You start doing anything in there, you're going to have abatement issues. Start getting into that. One day down the road, we'll have to face that. But currently there's nothing in there. The building on the left side is the old outside laundry building from years ago. And I was involved back when healthcare center days when I worked there, of getting all the equipment out of there, the old washers and dryers, and clearing that out so that we could use it for storage. And that's currently what it is, mainly storage for the neighbors. There's probably some stuff that facilities has in there, but it's mainly facility storage for neighbors. That's just cold storage. There is electricity in there, but there's no heat.
Okay, thank you. I was just, I see those buildings all the time now, because driving around the back, and I was just curious, I guess.
Let me know. I'll give you a tour.
All right.
Kim, you had a question?
I did. I know Dave mentioned that that building back there that you're looking at relocating your offices to was already set up for offices. Does that mean there's already internet out there?
Yes, that was the CJC building. Was CJC offices were in there, so there was internet service in there. There's fiber optic to that house, so all we'd have to do is restore that. I talked with IT about it. They have the equipment that was pulled out of there. We just put that equipment right back in there, and we're up and running for internet.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I got one more.
Okay,
Scott, you said there wasn't any sewer or water in that storage building. What will you do for bathroom?
Well, in that case, we would do the same as what we've been doing at the rec park. Is we would have to take a vehicle and go to the main building or back to our office. The rec park, the space that we use under the grandstand in those buildings, there's no restroom down there either. One day down the road, as it allows, we may end up putting a restroom into that shop area, so then it's a convenience thing. But right at this point, we don't. We know where there's water to hook onto, so that's not far away. And then it would be just hooking onto a sewer.
okay. Yeah, Mike.
So the building that the rec park that you're not gonna use because you took the heater out, can you use that for cold storage for equipment or anything?
That's what we currently use it for, cold storage. John uses most of that building for storage of highway equipment. If we have the record storage building to put our equipment in, that means there's more space for John to use to put the equipment in back there. And he's smiling, he likes that.
Okay, so I guess we need to, the records off-site question, we need to get that resolved.
Yeah.
So now I guess I got a question to ask the chairman or Dave. The fact that it's already a county building and we're going to keep it in-house, is this just something that if we got the money in our budget, we can do, or does it have to go before the county board to a relocation like this?
I would think we can just do it.
That's what I think too, but I need
And
clarification.
it sounds like we have money in the budget already for storage and moving some stuff. So it sounds like the money is in the budget already for doing some of that stuff already. So might have to move the money around a little bit, but
Right.
but it shouldn't be that probably wouldn't even have to come to county board either.
Right.
So
Go ahead, Scott.
what I'm looking at my budget is, I used to have, I had a section in there that was CJC, that was for the house. And so that was taken out because, they vacated the office. So that was taken out for 2021 budget. But that would end up, I suppose that would be put back in there once we know what expenses are at. If it's done for 2021, my budget would be able to absorb the costs of running the house for the year. I just cut back on a few things here and there. I could absorb that. And then for 2022, I would put in line items and dedicate money to that space there. There's currently money in for record storage. So the expenses of the record storage could stay in there because those would come back and be absorbed into the budget for a community services building. So that I think that would all work out. I don't see where there's really a problem there. As far as getting the whole thing done, as far as moving, it would be the labor of my staff of moving the stuff from place to place, back and forth to get it all done.
Right. All right. So what's the consensus of the committee? As I see it, I guess get the question about the records resolved, and if there is nothing that says we need to be off site to move forward, what's your thoughts?
I can let you know too that Nick and I did talk about this idea. Nick did not bring up anything about records having to be stored off site when we talked about it. But I still agree that we should discuss it with him and ask him directly that question. But he thought it was a great idea, that he had heard about it, thought it was a great idea. And so I guess I agree with asking him just to make sure.
Right. And then also human resources, just to double check.
Yep.
With them also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, did you have another question?
No, I wanted to touch on that same point. I think we should cross our T's and dot our I's before we get in too big a hurry. But as I said before, I think it's a great idea. I just don't think we should jump before we make sure what we're jumping into.
Definitely. So Scott, if you want to get those questions answered and then, report back, why that would be great. I do understand the urgency of the frost and Excel,
Yeah.
but I agree with Mike. We do have to make sure we're we're on solid ground with everything here, so.
I agree with that too. And like I said, with the risk of the frost and a $2,000 frost charge, it's not worth
No,
risking having that charge. So I will talk with Nick tomorrow, and I'll talk with Chris Horpla about Human Services, about their records and everything.
Okay.
I'll see what I can find out, and I'll definitely report back.
okay, sounds good, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, item 6C, county old buildings roof inspection and maintenance. Scott, what do you got on that one?
Well, okay, so I brought this to the committee last meeting, and a couple questions were asked about finding out from this company. First off, the references, and the references were included with the packet, I believe, or were they not?
No,
Well, my bad. Sorry about that.
at least I didn't have any references.
Okay, I probably missed it. So anyways, what we have, I have references from their company, from so that they have multiple locations. And so they have Kansas, state of Kansas references, Minnesota references. And then they also have references for this HVAC tracker. And so those are all Minnesota ones. And I'm looking on here. I don't see any big ones that I recognize. You know, the guy that I met with had mentioned one of the counties in Minnesota, but he did not put that on here. He had also mentioned Mail, which I don't see that on here. And then when I asked the question about information, any statistics as to, you know, showing how this would extend the life of your roof. I think Mike had that question. And, you know, and his response was that I don't have any solid statistics on that, or physical statistics. But his reference was just like changing your oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, your transmission fluid every 60,000 miles, brakes every 80,000 miles. That you know, you're having somebody do maintenance on your roof, like cleaning your roof drains, looking at your caulk, any of that stuff on your roof is going to extend the life expectancy. You know, staying on top of the minor repairs that non-roofers would not normally see. That's going to extend the life of your roof. But, you know, I guess John and I had discussed this, what they had to say. And, you know, we kind of thought too that, you know, I guess our guys can go up on the roof and take a look at things, keep, you know, maybe go up there on a more regular basis and look things over and do a better look. I've got some of my guys that are really good background in construction. So, that being said, you know, I'm probably leaning toward the same way you guys are, is that this really isn't worth doing. So I'll throw that out there, but I'll let you guys discuss it if you have any questions here.
Okay, any questions for Scott? Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I guess I was wondering why, or if your guys were capable of going up and scraping back the rock and inspecting it. And also, do we really need to do anything on the first 10 to 15 years of a roof? Can we wait until they're 10 to 15 years old before we start worrying about it. I don't know that you have a lot of concerns on the new roof, and you're not doing much to improve it from the inspection point. I'm not sure about that. I'm asking that again.
Sure. So I feel that my guys are quite capable of going up and looking over a roof, and if they have to pull back rock and check seams periodically, they're quite capable of doing that. On a roof that's got rock on it, you get a buildup of debris up there in the rock, and then you're checking your roof drains to make sure nothing's backing up. I think the building or the roof on community services building, I think that one is like 8 going on 9 years old right now. Haven't had any issues, but if we did, we'd go up there and check it out, see what's going on. But I know Judicial Center, the guys over there have done some repairs on it. We have had some other roofers come in and do repairs on it. So I would say that I do have guys that are capable. Over at the Neighbors, we have had, that's a shingled roof, so a different style roof, but there's been some flashing over there that was done wrong, some step flashing. And Josh, my facility technician over there, has a background in roofing and siding. He took it upon himself and redid some flashing up there, and that area hasn't had a problem with leaking. So I do have a lot of confidence in my guys that they would be able to do well on this, and much cheaper than the $8,000 that this company would want per year for doing it. So I think we'd be all right without this.
Okay, then I guess consensus is unless somebody feels really strongly we should do it, then we'll just pass on that for now. Is that the consensus? Thumbs up? Okay, so we'll pass on that for now then. Okay, very good. Thanks for the update, Scott.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, number 7, considerations, reports, resolutions, ordinances to be recommended to the county board. We have none. I have an update here. I got a call and in regards to the deer hunt on the Monoman Park and our parks in the city. And the call was about because Dunn County is in a CWD zone because of the deer that was gotten last year. This person had read through the requirements to get a permit, and nowhere did it mention the CWD. And he was wondering if we had talked about that or anything. And I responded no, because when we first started talking about this a couple of years ago, CWD was not an issue. And they felt that should be, or they were questioning, why it wasn't in there. I did contact the DNR, and they, as far as for archery hunts, they highly recommend or advise to take your deer and get it CWD sampled, but it's not mandatory. So I did call the Menominee Parks and Rec. I talked to those people. They are going to have that down as they're going to advise anybody getting a permit to, the DNR is advising you to get the CWD tested, and they are going to call the people that have permits already and make them aware of the fact that the DNR advises that they get tested. And then also the 3 closest places to take them in Menominee is the DNR office down over there at down there by Riverside Park, at Kyle's Market in Colfax, and at the in Wheeler, the Bridge Stop gas station. Those are places to take your deer heads to, and basically it's all volunteer because of COVID. Nobody's manning anything. It's and the DNR also told me that when you call in to register your deer, there's a recording that advises about how to do all that too. I did not call in, so I have not listened to it, but this is what I was told by the DNR staff in Madison. So I just wanted to update everybody on that that's where that's at. So, okay, next topic is our next meeting date. Normally it'd be the 25th of November, which is the day before Thanksgiving, and that's probably not a good thing. Of course, I don't know how many people are traveling or having people over this year. I guess what are your wishes as far as for the next meeting? Anybody? Any ideas? Or does the 25th work? Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Well, I would, you said does the 25th work? And I would say, I would strongly suggest, in my opinion, to stay away from the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
even if you're not traveling, usually there is food prep that you do in your own household to start getting ready for Thanksgiving. So
Okay, I agree. I mean, that's, yep. So what day?
Could we move it up Monday or Tuesday of that week or the week after that? Week after would be okay.
Well, that throws us into December, which I guess wouldn't be the worst thing, especially with the other holidays. We could kind of combine November, December meetings into one. How does December 2nd work for everybody?
I would think that would be a goal for me.
Okay, that sounds good. Nobody's shaking their head no. So let's plan on the next meeting then on Wednesday, December 2nd at 6:30. And at this point, it will be another Zoom meeting, the way the numbers have been escalating. So the next meeting will be December 2nd at 6:30. Any other topics of discussion for the committee tonight? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.